yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. Man. I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. I'm none other than here with Charles Bishop and Brian Fulford. Mike Washington is back out on assignment. I tried to dock his pay. That didn't work very well, so I don't know what the next step is, Charles. With that being said, welcome to episode 549 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast. The show that's covering the sporting HBCU dash for all things HBCU sports. From institutions large and small, from the NAIA to the NCAA, we share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, the business of HBCU and HBCU athletic aesthetics, I should say, to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs in the business of HBCU sports. In short, we call it HBCU sports pedagogy. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, along with my co-host, Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Again, Mike Washington's out on assignment, so we have Brian Fulford. We're filming from our home studios and sending a signal live to KCOH 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer, multi-Hall of Famer Ralph Cooper in the beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. We see the folks are getting into the lab, so excited to have you. You know, today we unveil as we moved our mid-majors to Tuesday, and we unveiled for the first time the major division on Sunday. Brian was a part of that. Charles was on assignment traveling back in. So we might sneak a segment in, just let him give his points on what he thinks on the top 7. We'll see what he says. I'm not sure if I'm too excited about all that. But with that being said, let me say, Charles, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Dr. Cavil, and let me just say, if you've never attended a Jackson State Southern game, please put that on your bucket list of things to do. It was a tremendous environment. Kudos to Jackson State's game day operations. It is truly an event environment. When you take a look at the theatrics with the scoreboard, with the band, with the DJ, the pyrotechnics, it was, getting the fans involved on third down. It truly had a different feel. So I take my hat off and commend them for the operations, the game day operations.
That's scary because I can only imagine. I've had the pleasure to go to Jackson State for a couple of games, including championship games the 2 years ago when they played back-to-back. And it was a fascinating event. And so if they've taken that to the next level, I did see the picture that you sent with the pyrotechnics, and now they got the third down. Between what you all are doing, what FAMU is doing over there, people need to recognize and step their games up. Southern, a couple of years ago, unveiled their light show, which almost created a whole nother environment. But we'll leave that at that. Other than that, it was pretty exciting and very intriguing. But that's fascinating. So, Brian, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Doc. Hearing Charles, hey, look, I will say, watching some of the videos of the game day experience at Jackson State is why I'm working these extra shifts. I'm trying to get there October 19th for the game of the year. I mean, I told you it's the game of the year by far and away, game of the year, and I'm looking forward to being there. I mean, look, kudos to the Jackson community, the crowd. I mean, electric atmosphere. It looked great on TV. It looked great from social media videos. Shout out to BJ Jones who tweeted out the segment when the tribute to Frankie Beverly and Mays. Man, that was first class because during the broadcast, Like I mean, the broadcasters, of course, are focused on the game, but literally after the DJ stopped playing for the next 2 minutes, the fans sang the song. Before I let go, I mean, they were in tune, they were on beat. You didn't need the music. Everyone was in harmony, lockstep, and I mean, it was a beautiful sight, man. It was a beautiful sight. So kudos to Jackson State and that whole the vet and everybody who was a part of that.
Mm-hmm.
You're right, Brian. That was powerful. That was a statement. You talking about for the culture or the culture? Oh man, that was frankly just amazing. Just to be a witness in person, I'm sure, but even to watch it on television or see the video streaming, you like that made you proud, regardless of who you are in terms of your own alma mater. But if you are connected with HBCUs, you like, see, we tried to tell you.
Yeah.
With that being said, let's get into some news of the day. I'm gonna lean on Brian a little bit for this. And there's a statement out there. Who is Angela Suggs? Is one of the reports that came out. Meet the new Florida A&M athletic director. I think Brian can do probably a due diligence than anything we can put out there. I will say that I had heard this news a couple of weeks ago that was coming, and I was asked to hold on to it, not release it until obviously ink dries and things get settled. But when I heard it, I was quite excited for her. I had a chance to meet her in a couple of different events, different environments. And as I learned and heard the story about obviously her passion, which many of us have for our institution, the fact that she put her first leg forward and then tried a couple of times, got really close, my understanding, if not at least once, maybe twice in that situation. But to come around full circle, people to come get you in a lot of ways, has to be feeling to a lot of folks that were connected to her, waiting on this day to see it. So I'm fascinated to hear what Brian has to say about it.
Well, Doc, Charles, this one is really personal because I know Mrs. Suggs. Just so happens that she's married to my college roommate.
Oh wow!
And yeah, so this is family, and I couldn't be any more excited for a true blood Rattler. As the great article by Vaughn Wilson in HBCU Game Day pointed out, she was one of the many children literally born and raised on the highest of 7 hills, where she attended Florida A&M grammar school, high school, and college. She is FAMU, and it's one of those things where I've felt, even the last couple of athletic director hires, I felt like we were transitioning and we were at a point where we needed someone who was FAMU, who understood the very unique culture that is Florida A&M. And not to say that someone from the outside couldn't, but you have to come in and really be a pro's pro, and not, I say this with respect, without someone who's kind of venturing into their first role as an athletic director, which is what the last 2 hires were, to be quite frank. And while this is, Mrs. Suggs' first job as the athletic director, she runs the Florida Sports Foundation, which is a major entity in the state of Florida. And so her credentials and resume speak volumes. And I just think we are a unique university, a unique brand, a unique group. And it is time that we have someone who understands the unique environment that FAMU, and knows how to work the various rooms, and knows how to work the various places and who to go to get X, Y, and Z done, because you have those relationships. I think that is a major advantage that she has and that she will have walking into this role. And I'll leave there. We'll share more thoughts on Wednesday, but I'm I'm excited. I mean, her credentials they speak for themselves. And, I pray that everything goes well with the board of trustees. They can be what they can be sometimes. So I'm just going to pray that it works out the way it's supposed to work out this time. Yes, exactly. Pray it works the way it's supposed to work out. But anyway, I'm excited. I think this is going to be a great turn for Florida A&M University.
Charles, did you want to ask any follow-up question? I saw you with the intrigued look on your face, or do you want to get to the weekly honors?
Well, just real quickly, I mean, I think, and you touched on it, Brian, in terms of the uniqueness of FAMU brand, and an individual who is able to, who has those relationships coming in. I think that's going to be very important. So looking forward to what she's able to do down at FAMU. And I think, as you mentioned, her credentials speak volumes. So looking forward to how she can elevate Florida A&M even further.
Good stuff, Charles. Let me stick with you, Charles, and give us weekly honors. You can go with either the SWAC or the MEAC, and then, Brian, you can take the other one.
Sure. Let's start off with the SWAC weekly honors, as the Southwestern Athletic Conference has tabbed Arkansas Pine Bluff's Micaiah Higgins, Grambling State's Andrew Jones, Bethune-Cookman's Darnell Dees, and Alcorn State's Xavier Vaughn for SWAC weekly honors for their outstanding performances during this past week of regular season competition. Let's take a look at Micaiah Higgins. He led UAPB's passing attack this past weekend versus Tennessee State with 276 yards passing. He also contributed 3 touchdowns with no interceptions. On the defensive side of the ball, Andrew Jones for the Grambling State Tigers, an impressive 13 tackles with 7 solo stops and 2 tackles for a loss this past weekend. And he was a significant contributor for Grambling as they defeated Texas A&M Commerce by a score of 35-28. The specialist of the week, this was huge. Darnell Dees showcased his electric speed and athleticism with a pair of kickoff return touchdowns against FBS opponent Western Michigan. He returned a total of 4 kickoffs for 225 yards and 2 scores in the game. And the newcomer of the week, Xavier Vaughn, quarterback for the Alcorn State Braves, was big in the win over Edward Waters. He was effective through the air and on the ground, securing a total of 4 touchdowns. So those are your SWAC players of the week.
Good stuff. Congratulations to the SWAC players of the week. Brian, did you want to add the MEAC players of the week?
I surely can, Doc. I have the MEAC players of the week presented by Coca-Cola. Howard quarterback Jalen Tolbert named the MEAC Offensive Player of the Week, presented by Coca-Cola. Fellow Bison Noah Miles earned Defensive Player of the Week honors, while Howard tight end Keontae Mosley was named Rookie of the Week. Delaware State Antonio Williams received Offensive Lineman of the Week accolades, and South Carolina State's Dyson Roberts was named Specialist of the Week. Tolbert, the redshirt senior quarterback for the Bison, he completed 23 of 41 passes for 267 yards, including 4 touchdown passes, a career high, in Howard's 35-21 win over Morehouse. Miles, the 6'4 defensive lineman, a 6'4", 250-pound junior, collected 3 sacks on the quarterback for a loss of 27 yards, while also registering 1 pass breakup against Morehouse. And then Mosley, who's a 6'3 freshman tight end, caught his first collegiate touchdown on a 33-yard reception, his lone catch of the game in Howard's win. Up front, the big guy, Williams, who's a 6'4 grad student, recorded a blocking grade of 90% with 5 pancake blocks as the Hornets accumulated 323 offensive yards against Wagner. And Roberts, the punter for South Carolina State, amassed 257 yards on 6 punts, which is an average of 42.8 with 1 touchback. The senior punter registered 2 kicks over 50 yards, including a long of 72 yards, and placed 2 punts inside the 20.
Good stuff for those MEAC players of the week. Congratulations to them. I did want to do a special shout out and give Brandon some love as he gets it done. as he acknowledges his Tennessee State. A couple of players here were honored as Big South OVC Weekly honors this week. So I thought that was a big nod. So I wanted to give them a little love in terms of what that looks like. That was none other than co-offensive player of the week, Draylon Ellis, quarterback Tennessee State, as he got it done against UAPB, the Golden Lions, in the Southern Heritage Classic. Ellis put together a second strong outing season in the Tigers' 41-28 win over Arkansas Pine Bluff in the Southern Heritage Classic. Ellis completed 20 of his 33 attempts with 226 yards and 3 touchdowns and no interception, while also running for 25 yards on 3 carries. Was named MVP of the game. Co-freshman of the week goes to Sanders Ellis, linebacker for Tennessee State. Put his head on the ball in terms of making plays on the defensive side. Against Arkansas Pine Bluff on Saturday, Southern's Ellis recorded 5 tackles, 3 solo, 2 assists, 2.5 tackles for loss, as well as 1.5 sacks on the season. He was 12 tackles assisted, 6 solo, 4 tackles and a loss, and 1.5 sacks. The 1.3 tackles for the loss in Nashville, Tennessee native averages ranks 28th in the country. So a freshman is getting it done. Wanted to add this little new segment that we'll do hopefully weekly, trying to get it done. The sports wrap. That's Brian, as AD is, I guess, like Mike on assignment.
Yeah, that's how we can call it. That's what we can call it. I like that. I got to use that more often.
We'll be nice to him this week, talking about he is on assignment. We'll see if that really makes any difference there as he get it done in so many different ways. But the reason I wanted to say that is Jamie is coming in and he'll be on there a long way. So shout out to Jamie Walker. But presented what we call the Sports Wrap 6-pack top performers for week 3, presented by BCSN. Tennessee State quarterback Draylon Ellis, 23 of 33, as you just heard about him. Bethune-Cookman's running back kick returner Darnell Dias, 2 kick return touchdowns, getting it done. And then we also include some mid-majors, as we're going to release these mid-major polls next. That's Fort Valley State quarterback Delvin Durham, 17 of 20, 283 yards and 4 touchdowns. Lane's wide receiver Anthony Evelyn, 8 receptions, 164 yards, a touchdown. Punt return for a touchdown of 82 yards. Was all over the place making plays. A big victory for Lane. Helped them get it done. And running back Ike Brown, 23 attempts, 156 yards on 2 touchdowns, is getting it done in many ways. Not to leave off none other than Johnson C. Smith University. You know, they were ranked number 1 last week, Charles. We'll see if they're able to do it. They did get the win now. Brevell Caldwell, 11 receptions. Check this out, Charles. 152 yards on the touchdown, getting it done hard. So wanted to give some love to the Sports Wrap on their 6-pack top performers from week 3. Right now on our program, Charles, we can't go with the 6-packs, but we can at least talk about it on the show.
There it is. Exactly. Big
10 pounds, Charles. Week 1, 10 pounds. I see what you're talking about. It works.
Exactly.
With that, we'll be right back after the break. We'll come back on the other side. We're going to unveil our mid-major top 7 teams and see what Brian and Charles thinks about the mid-major top 7 as we come back on the other side.
If you think all pads are exactly the same, think again. This is Always Ultra Thins reinvented with the Always Triple Protection System. This pad wicks gushes 90% faster, absorbs even more so you can feel dry, and locks odors in. Rethink your pad for up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort with the totally reinvented Always Ultra Thins. This is always like never before.
The Cavil Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cavil.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
This is Brian Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Lab. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Lab, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Ville's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. We'll see you all on Thursday. We'll be in Atlanta. Charles and I will be doing the SWAC Basketball Media Day. Women is on Thursday and Friday for the men. So we get a chance to get out of Houston and go to Atlanta and represent. We'll see if we can have a little fun while we're down there getting it done. With that being said, it's time to unveil the mid-major division top 7 in week number 2. Last week, we saw a lot of dominance from the CIAA. We'll see if that continues to stand. This Sunday, we talked about the fact that CIAA has dominated the SIAC, Charles.
Mm-hmm.
They are 6-0. This past weekend, you even had Livingstone, the Blue Bears, defeat Allen Yellow Jackets 23-21. So fascinating to see that CIAA is 6-0 over the SIAC. I wouldn't have ever imagined that. We'll see if it's reflected in the top 7. Dropping out this week is one of those CIAA teams, though. Fayetteville State Broncos, for all the 1-1. They had a tough loss this weekend in the non-conference affair. We'll see how that labors down. But let's also look at receiving votes. You have Elizabeth City State, the Vikings, 2-1, still in the mix at 142 points receiving votes. Fayetteville State, the Broncos, are 1-1, both out of the CIAA with 141 points. Then we have a SIAC sighting with Fort Valley State Wildcats. They had a big win this past weekend, and they improved to 1-1 on the season. That's also unique. 1-1 in conference play with 129 points as they got a big victory to put their name in the hat in terms of those receiving votes. Let's look at the top 7. Number 7 is Florida Memorial Lions. They're 1-1-1. Yes, you probably hadn't seen that in a while, since 1995 to be exact, when football at the college level implemented the overtime rules. Well, this one is a tie in the books. It's based on the fact that they had weather that came in and forced them to cancel the game and rule it as a tie after they got into it. They played a mid-afternoon game. Obviously, you talked about it was Florida Memorial against Clark Atlanta. They rode the bus down there, so you're not talking about charter that you even sometimes at the FCS level, especially the FBS level. So you got the issues you have with busing in terms of folks making sure they get their required rest, switch over. So they tried to get it in, but the weather, nature just wouldn't make it work. So they had to cancel and come back on. Brian, as we were in the box, as we call it, BCSN, doing our weekend analysis, throwing stuff out there. Make sure we keep each other up, man. If y'all could be in that, y'all would love it. And Charles was in there as well, and the conversation came up. It was like, man, disappointed that this game couldn't play because it was exciting. 21-20, 28-20, going back and forth, big play after big play. And you could only imagine that it was going to go down the wire, maybe the last team with the ball, it seemed like. But in this, it goes in the record books as a tie. With that, let's move on to number 6, where we turn back to the CIAA. The Shaw Bears, they had a tough loss, but they stay in the top 7. They do drop 3 spots. They fall to 2-1 on the season, 153 points, but they're still in at number 6. Bringing us to number 5, guess what? CIAA is getting it done again. Virginia State Trojans, they were open this weekend, so no damage could be done to them, or they couldn't add to their record. They stay at number 5 at 1-1. Bringing us to number 4, another one of those Virginia schools. This one is Virginia Union, the Panthers. They remain at 1-1, as well as they did not play a contest this week. They happen to have 2 first-place votes with 165 points. They rank as number 4. Bringing us to number 3, Winston-Salem State Rams. I will not say the Fighting Gators, but we will say that Stephen Gaither is happy right now. They won, and they improved to 2-1. They moved up 3 spots to number 6 out of the CIAA. That's 4 CIAAs. Can somebody break this madness? Let's go to number 2 and see what happens. Clark Atlanta Panthers, they do just that. They still undefeated, but now they add a tie to the ledger. 2-0-1, as you would. 2-0 in conference play. 2 first-place votes. Do notice they defeated Fort Valley State. So with Fort Valley State getting back the win, makes their win early over them that much more intriguing. 201 points. They are at number 2, stay at number 2, as they were number 2 last weekend. They played at Florida Memorial's team, so it'll be interesting to see how this will affect down the stretch these 2 teams and what that may look like if both of them have a stellar season. How do you decide between those 2? And the fact is, we asked you to play it on the field. Well, they tried, but couldn't finish. But that being said, number 1, Johnson C. Smith Golden Bulls say they have something to say about that. Right now, they remain number 1 for the second consecutive week as they are 3-0. 4 first-place votes, 220 points. Johnson C. Smith Golden Bulls are rolling and rocking right now, and they said they are for real. We'll see what that means if they can continue to do it. But the Johnson C. Smith Golden Bulls remain number 1 in the poll rankings after 2 weeks. As you see the top 7, number 7, Florida Memorial Lions. Number 6, Shaw Bears. Number 5, Virginia State Trojans. Number 4, Virginia Union Panthers. Number 3, Winston-Salem State Rams. Number 2, Clark Atlanta Panthers. And number 1, Johnson C. Smith Golden Bulls. That makes 5 teams out of the CIAA of the top 7. They nominate, and they still have 2 on the outside. So if you looked at the top 10, they would have 7 of the 10 teams in the rankings. Hey, they got a chance. It'll be interesting in that division. Not division, but conference, I should say, playing each other. And since everybody's ranked, are they going to fall that fast? How much is this going to change unless somebody out of the SIC or the end of programs really just gets hot besides Clark Atlanta, Florida Memorials, and don't let them bump their head, and it may even get worse in terms of what the CIAA represents. Charles, I see your imagination, and I can't wait to hear what you have to say.
I'm just dumbfounded. I mean, where are the Tuskegees? Where are the Miles? I mean, CIAA is putting in work. 6-0 against this. I'm like you, Doc. I just didn't think I'd see this, but they're playing some tremendous ball, and then we got some tremendous matchups this upcoming weekend. When you talk about Winston-Salem State, Virginia State, Virginia Union, and Johnson C. Smith. I mean, that's an emphatic statement that Johnson C. Smith this past weekend putting up 52 points. And they got some balance. They got a tremendous running back, great read on him at HBCU game day. You saw the receiver this past week, 11 catches for over 100 some odd yards. That's going to be a fun game to watch and see where Johnson C. Smith, if they can continue this momentum. But I can't argue with the polls. I mean, Clark is holding on for dear life up there for the SIAC. But I tell you what, they got Bethune-Cookman this weekend. Can they hang in the top 5 there? So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. When you talk about they go on the road, they can make either a major statement or it may get interesting if it lets it get it away. No telling what may happen coming out of the polls. But to your point, when you talk about Tuskegee, Fort Valley, Albany State, guess what? All of them lost to a CIAA team. So not only is where they is, this is a chance where the head-to-head really says a lot. This is not just somebody's strength of schedule matrix, but these are head-to-head matchups. As I said, CIAA makes a emphatic statement going 6-0 against the SIAC. Brian, I want to hear what you have to say about the top 7.
Well, Doc, I'm 6-0 CIAA versus SIAC. So I'm going to push back on the ranking of 2 SIAC schools sitting at the top 2 spots. In the poll that I voted on, I still have 2 CIAA schools sitting at 1 and 2. Nice. The same two who started the season. I think the validity and the power of the CIAA versus the SIC sort of gives me a little credence to that. I can kind of poke my chest out and I can say, okay, I'm not totally off base. Johnson C. Smith has played Tuskegee. Now, I like to look at ratings. I like to look at the analytics and the measurements. They played a Tuskegee team, which is ranked. Have they won a game yet? Has Tuskegee won a game? Okay. So they're rated very low, probably about 140 something. They played a Morehouse team, rated about 150 something, and a Lincoln PA team also rated 150 something. So they have beaten up on bad teams. They've beaten up on bad teams. You do what you're supposed to do when you beat up on bad teams, right? So I'm not going to crown them or give them that first place spot just yet. But, guess what? This weekend, they're going to get a chance to earn it. They're going to get a chance to earn it in my book. I can't wait for that game in Charlotte at night. It's a home game for the Bulls. So the Golden Bulls, you get a chance to prove it to me. I'm like Missouri. You got to show me.
Good point.
Man, good stuff. The only thing that's interesting about that is it's like you're projecting. And I see that in the preseason poll, you project. But once the season goes on, I mean, why play the games if you're just going to project somebody through the season at the end, I guess would be my question. In a poll, what's the validity of a week-to-week poll that looks at people playing games? I'm intrigued because I see that you have a different way that you do it, which I'm not knocking that, but I am intrigued in why you're so against looking at whether a team, because the only reason I say that, to your point, if Johnson C. Smith is not supposed to be number 1 in week number 3, they'll lose this week. Yeah. And so for now, they number 1. It's just what it is. They rolling. If Virginia Union is supposed to be number 1, by week 5, they'll win in their show and could be number 1. But right now, we're looking at week number 2, and they lost. And it's just like it don't mean nothing to me. I think they should be winning. Who cares if they lost? What's the use of playing the game?
That's the thing about preseason polls. This is why, I know why we have preseason polls. I know it gives us something to talk about, but I like to have a little bit of data. I like to kind of have 2 to 3 games under my belt. Like, even as we move forward, I'm always looking at what you did the last 2 to 3 weeks, because teams do change. Teams get better. Teams get worse. Teams kind of flatline. So I'm taking all that into consideration. These first 3 weeks have been preseason games for Johnson C. Smith. A good start. But we have seen teams go 3-0 before and then hit the wall and fall off a cliff. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. So, and so while I'm just measuring, look, I think there's those 4 teams at the top, I think are all strong teams. And so where we rank them, we're all sort of disagree with. And it's like you saw in your poll, the top 4 teams all receive what? First place votes. So right. I just, I'm just not one of the 4 people that, are voting Johnson C. Smith number 1. So,
and let's get this quick, straight. Johnson C. Smith is out of the CIAA now. We don't want to mix them up. We don't want to get folks in trouble thinking we saying
right. But I'm just right now. Tradition has told me and given me reason to say that two other schools might be a little bit better. And when they used to be on divisions, they used to reside in the north.
I won't belabor the point. And I think you're right about that. But Charles, I'm gonna take him to one of them lectures that I have in class. I'm like, you got to give me a little better than that, because I think you never answered my question. You filibustered a lot of that. And just talked about this and that.
I teach a government class, Doc.
How do you feel about a team win week to week? Because I'm like, Virginia Union was preseason projected in this poll. They were actually number one. They won their first game. They stayed at number one. Week after that, in terms of week one, they lost. They lost to Norfolk State. So you like, I don't believe what my eyes just saw. They still good.
Hold on, they lost to a team that had more scholarships. The same people who would tell me, "Oh, they got."
But if they lose to Johnson C. Smith, they have more scholarships than them too.
Well, see. All right.
With that, Charles, we're gonna go to the next break. We'll come back on the other side. Brian, if you would, as we come back, let's pull up just the top 7 for the major divisions. We'll do a little quick thing and ask Charles his thought on that, and then we'll get in some talk of some of these games of the week. We'll get in some of the top games that Sports Wrap talked about, BCSN. Give Charles and both of you a chance to talk about that. Then the last segment, we'll do a quick one. I just want to see your thoughts in terms of what the coach said about Morehouse. And is it really anything? Should we get excited about that or not? Or is that just another conference churning framework and we can keep moving? With that, let's take a second break. We'll come back on the other side. We'll get a quick segment, and then we'll get into our last segment of the day.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
Supermarket sushi, really?
No. Wait, Troy, you work here?
I'm never not working. Like Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes.
Never not working, huh?
Oh, Troy, you're such a good teacher.
Yeah, I know. Never not working. Never not working. Never, ever not working.
Are you serious?
Never not working. Dandruff protection that's never not working. Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology.
Hey, grab me one too.
Charmin Ultra Soft has so much cushiony softness, it's hard for your family to remember they can use less.
Sweet pillows of softness.
This is soft. Holy Charmin. Oh, excuse me. Roll it back, everybody. Sorry.
Charmin Ultra Soft is so cushiony soft, you'll want more, but it's so absorbent, you can use less, so it's always worth it.
Now, what did we learn about using less?
You gotta roll it back, everybody.
We all go. Why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavil of Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
Compress the analytic data with this hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna law, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil inside the HBCU Sports Lab with none other than Charles Bishop and Brian Fulford. Let's quickly get into this top 10 teams. We'll just unveil the overall top 7, I should say, in week number 3. And I want to get Charles's thoughts on it. Top 7 are Texas Southern Tigers 1-1. They remain at number 7. At number 6, you have Howard Bison. They were not ranked, and they are 2-1 on the season. As they jump back in the poll after a big win in New York over Morehouse. At number 5, Grambling State Tigers went on the road and got a win at Texas A&M Commerce, so they improved to 2-1. They were not ranked. You starting to hear a refrain, Charles? At number 4, the Tennessee State Tigers. They improved to 2-1. Guess what? They have 87 points, but they were not ranked last week. I got 2 more for you. Hampton Pirates are at number 3. They improved to 2-1, 191 points. They were not ranked. You have number 2, Jackson State University, improved to 2-1. Big win over a rival. Was not a conference game. It was a non-conference matchup played between conference teams. They have 5 first place. Not only did they jump in there, they took 5 first place. So they must have been quite impressive to a lot of folks. 20 points. They were not ranked. They were just outside receiving votes, so they weren't too far out. They did start the preseason in the rankings, which probably had a lot of people's thoughts on that. But to the number 1 ranked team, the Florida A&M Railers, they fell from number 1 for 1 week, but they jumped right back there and back at the top. This is their second consecutive week at number 1. 6 first place votes, 20 and 21 points. They remain number 1 again for the second consecutive week. I want to see your thoughts in terms of the top 7. Before you do that, I unveiled it on Sunday, put it out there, and there were, to Brian, like Brian kind of says, in terms of the major division. So no telling what kind of hell you get on this. But there were some folks who were not happy at North Carolina Central. They said they played well in the first half against North Carolina.
They did.
And they did, but they lost the game. And so it's amazing how folks like to give folks credit these days. Everywhere else they say, hey, man, you got to play the game. But these folks want to give you bonus points because you played well for a quarter, half. Kicked a couple of field goals, scored a touchdown. Don't worry that you lost your quarterback going into your rivalry game. We still don't know who's going to play in terms of what that looks like. But I'll be damned. Central's supposed to look good. They played well for a little bit. They lost 2 games in a row. Don't worry about that either. The poll ain't worth nothing because North Carolina Central not in the poll ranking. Brian been trying to get North Carolina Central out the pocket for a minute. I at least waited until they lost. Hey, I'm just saying. Anyway, let me stop. Charles, what are your thoughts?
Doc, how you really feel? You're so ambiguous there. So, I guess all these teams, Jackson State, I think, is the one that really jumps out. With the Simone Biles action really vaulting all the way up the polls into number 2. But that was a really impressive win over Southern, and the score really does not really say how Jackson State dominated that game. They held Southern only 29 yards rushing. They were the more physical
team. They rushed for over 200 yards themselves.
While they rushed,
dominating up front as emphatically as you can get it on both sides of the ball. To your point, go ahead.
Yeah, and like I said, that was very impressive for them to win up front. And I think sort of a theme that I've seen now from Jackson State, even for the past 3 games, even going back to Louisiana Monroe, that's a physical ball club. They did not let an FBS team sort of push them around all over the place. And you see it's the offensive line, they're some maulers. They really do get into you. So that was an impressive win. Same thing with Hampton. Very impressive win, I think, over Norfolk State, especially after we saw Norfolk State sort of go toe-to-toe with Florida A&M for the majority of that game. Tennessee State, nice win against the UAPB. Great article. UAPB still with some fight in them toward the end of the game, so they made that score a little bit closer than what it was, and very impressive. Grambling going on the road, winning in overtime. So I think the poll is where it should be. I think this upcoming week we get some more, as Mike likes to say, some data points, because I think you got some some games that I'm really going to be paying attention to, especially when you look at Jackson State going on the road there to Grambling. That's a 5 versus number 2 matchup. That should be a really good one. Also looking forward to that Howard Hampton matchup as well.
Exactly. Let's start with that one, and I'm gonna ask both of y'all in terms of some of these games of the week as we feature it, and we're gonna look at it in terms of these rankings. We have 2 games that are featuring ranked teams this week, so I'm very intrigued at what that looks like. I agree with Sports Wrap in their top 5 games to watch this week, presented by BCSN. And the first 2 I'm going to lean on are going to be a matchup that talks about top 7 matchups at the major division level. This is Howard versus Hampton, and they are part of that top 7. You have number 3 and number 6. It's in Washington, D.C., not on the campus of Howard, but Audi Stadium. Classic matchup between Howard and Hampton. Hampton has honed this. Brian doesn't even say the word Howard anymore. Howard, they don't own the H, he says, until they can find a way to at least not just keep the game close like they did last year. And some people may say they took wins from the clutch of defeat because Hampton says, no, this doesn't belong to you. This H doesn't belong to you. It is ours. And won the game and broke literally everybody Howard's heart in a million pieces. With that being said, Brian, what are your thoughts in terms of this top 7 matchup featuring 3 versus 6?
I love it. Again, memo to future President Harris, current Vice President Harris, just turn on the TV in the White House or on the campaign trail and watch this one from afar. Don't go to the stadium. Don't go. I've already heard from Howard fans. They said don't come to the stadium. They won't say it out loud. But in the back channels, in the back rooms, they're like, yeah, we don't play too well when Harris comes to the game.
According to you, they ain't played well before she even got to the White House.
Well, yeah, maybe so, but especially in this series. But I think 7 in a row, and I think 17 of the last 20, something of that nature. So it's hard times to get. Yeah, it's the last 2 decades have been owned by Hampton. So that whole debate about who's the real HU. Howard's gonna have to show up.
He said there ain't no argument right now.
There's no argument. Rivalries aren't really rivalries when one team ain't winning.
Man, that's a good point. Charles, take it over from there for I allow Brian to get even more trouble.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a really interesting game to see who controls the line of scrimmage. I mean, and when you take a look at both of these teams, they have really good running backs, especially when you're talking about Jared Hunter for Howard, Elijah Burris for Hampton. Who is able to control the line of scrimmage, I think, is going to go huge in this game. I think both quarterbacks are decent quarterbacks, but it'll be interesting to see what Chris Zealous for Hampton can do in this game. See if he can get downfield a little bit more. So I'm looking for a good one. It's too early in the week for me to call this one, but I'm gonna give the edge to Howard on this one. Just by a nose.
Good stuff. Now I'm going to talk about 2 matchups. One of them is between big-time rivals, not in the same conference. Neither one of them are ranked, even though some people believe that North Carolina should still be ranked. Central was ranked last week, and coming into the season, a lot of people have them number 1. What are your thoughts in terms of this A&T Aggies taking their show on the road? They've struggled. They played a CAA Colonial, now known as the Coastal Athletic Conference. This past weekend got beat up, nearly got took to them by Winston-Salem State. That is a top 7 ranked team in the mid-major division, but 2 different divisions, as you know. So I'm fascinated to see what your thoughts on A&T at North Carolina Central. Charles?
To me, with Central, I think a lot of it is quarterback play. I'm very concerned, at least with regards to what sort of consistency Central gets from week to week from the quarterback play. A great spirited effort against North Carolina. I sat up and watched quite a bit of that game, the replay the other night, and I was impressed by the defense flying around. A&T, I just can't get a fix on. I mean, that was very surprising to see Winston-Salem literally have the game in hand and not come out on the winning end in that. So I don't know what sort of A&T team that I'm looking at right now. I got to go, even though it's a rivalry game, I got to go with Central at home.
Aggie Pride say order will be restored in Durham on Saturday. Ooh, boy, Joshua Sims will not be happy if that happens. That day, he does the Wednesday show as an independent with a couple of Hampton Pirates and the Tennessee State guy. So it'd be interesting. Tomorrow, we won't have that show, but they'll be back in the swing of things next Wednesday. If we can find something to work out, we'll bring you something tomorrow. But if not, just wanted our viewers to understand that show will continue. We just may take a week hiatus. Brian, to you, what are your thoughts in terms of A&T, North Carolina Central, in terms of this particular matchup? I will add this. It was fascinating because a lot of folks want to look at this matchup in terms of rivalry, and they quickly go to the overall series and say it's not a rival. Yeah. I think in some ways that's misleading. This team played in the when you talk North Carolina Central A&T, they played back when they were both members in CIAA. But if you remember, you have the conference starting in the MEAC in the 1970s, played a couple of years there. But in turn, and then you have obviously A&T moving from that perspective. So you don't have what these teams really playing over the last some 8 years as part of the same conference, short period of time. So I think it's misleading if you're not careful when you look at the records because of the divisional classification that was played. It'd be more similar like Norfolk State, Virginia State, Tuskegee, Alabama State, even though Tuskegee owned them there. But with that being said, Brian, what do you think about this matchup?
Has anybody found Walker Harris yet? I know that was a question coming out of Sunday, and I know Dave's in the chat. Has anybody found Walker Harris? Anybody watched? Okay, so anyway, while Central is still trying to find their quarterback or
Joshua gonna get you.
Look, I don't want to get in family business, so I need to. I'm gonna watch what I say, but I didn't ask the question. I'm just repeating the question, so don't come at me. Look, see, Dave already said he has not been found yet, so I pray that everything is good with Mr. Walker. I'm hoping. I don't want to get in family business because I know it can be tough between them two schools up the road from each other. So I'm gonna just sit back and watch and enjoy. But I'm gonna go A&T on this one. I'm gonna go A&T.
Good stuff, good stuff. And let me get that out there. They only played 8 years together, the last cycle, if you would, as both members of the MEAC. That's crazy. From 1979 to 2010, they played during that time many times with Central being a Division II squad out of the CIAA and A&T, obviously Division I FCS out of the MEAC. With that being said, we'll take this break. We'll come back on the other side. We'll talk a couple of 2 matchups, and then we'll call it and close it up and call it the show.
Choice Hotels is a family of brands that helps you get the most for your money so you can be any traveler you want to be.
You could be a free hot breakfast hero at a comfort hotel.
Yes!
That's how you waffle.
Mr. This Script got a plot twist at a Radisson hotel.
A business big leaguer.
Go for key.
Even the ultimate pool float inflator.
With 22 brands and the best value for your money, Choice Hotels has a stay for any you. Book direct at choicehotels.com, where travels come true.
Gotta get the corners.
human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Cavil's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KeaversVoice.com. Cavil's Voice, Cavil's Voice, CavilsVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
Troy, you work here?
I'm never not working. Like Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes. Never not working. Never not working. Never ever not working. Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield. Never not working.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna love, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil inside the HBCU Sports Lab. So we just went over 3 of the 5 games to watch. We're gonna go over 2 more mid-majors. Then I'm gonna throw in not just 1 bonus, but 2 bonus games because 1 is a conference. And I want to see what your thoughts on that. We're going to switch over to focus on some mid-major matchups, if you would. Top games of the week. We're going to focus on the CIAA, SIEC. We will sneak a game in there and see what your thoughts on there. But the first one is fascinating to me because I agree with Brian from this standpoint. Virginia Union is tough. They came in the preseason ranked number 1 in many polls. They were pretty much consensus. And they take on our red-hot Johnson C. Smith team. And while we have them number 1, other folks still see them as at least a top 7 team. So you literally have preseason number 1, currently number 4 this week, in week number 2, going up against the current number 1. Virginia Union travels on the road to Johnson C. Smith. So you're talking about Johnson C. Smith having a huge chance to make a statement. They hold the number 1 ranking. So a lot of fans around there to come out supporting this 3-0 team. Can they find a way to defeat Virginia Union, the number 4 ranked team in our poll rankings coming in for this matchup? Can they defeat them and hold on to the number 1 spot for another week? Charles, what do you say?
I like the momentum of Johnson C. Smith. I think playing this game at home, I think they're going to ride that momentum. And I'm looking forward to see can they handle this tough Virginia Union team. Like you mentioned, they came into the season as kind of the number 1 team that everybody was taking a look at. But I like Johnson C. Smith in this one. I like for them in terms of the way Darius Ocean has been playing thus far. Huge game this past week. He threw for almost 300 yards, but he was efficient, didn't turn the ball over. I think that's going to be huge for Johnson C. Smith going into this game. Protecting the football will be huge for them. I'm going to take them with the win over Virginia Union. And in a mild upset.
Yeah, you're right. In a lot of people's eyes, they're going to see it as an upset, even though Johnson C. Smith comes in with that number 1 ranking. Fascinating. You can watch this game. It's on the CIAA Sports Network. So for those that are interested, it's 5 p.m. Central Standard Time at 6 o'clock Eastern. So check it out. Let me go to you, Brian. What are your thoughts in terms of this top 7 matchup? Obviously, you agree because you got it as one of the top games of the week out of the sports wrap presented by BCSN.
Yeah, this is a great opportunity. I think it'll be a little more than a mild upset. It'll be a huge upset. I mean, Virginia Union is the standard. Virginia Union is the standard.
They do have every day everybody bias.
look, I mean, it's not an accident. It's not an accident. I mean, they coming back with what the preseason said they had about 20 returners, 21, something to that effect. Maybe it was 20. Coach said they got the 3 best running backs in the conference. Okay, so Johnson C. Smith, what you got? Let's go. Let's see. I mean, this is one of those heavyweight battles where the champ and the number 1 contender are stepping into the ring. And we sometimes see how those fights go. Sometimes the contender actually may become the champ. Sometimes we find out why the champ is the champ. So that's what we're gonna find out. That's what we're gonna find out on Saturday night under the lights, 6 p.m. Eastern in beautiful Charlotte, North Carolina. I mean, great. They get the slate of CIAA games all to themselves, I think. There may be, yeah, okay. So, I mean, great job of scheduling. Whoever did the scheduling for this, kudos to them. Get all the other fluff out the way, and let's let these 2 teams go.
Man, big time. Brian is saying somebody will show they're a pretender, while somebody will show they're a contender. With that being said, we have another top 7 matchup. This one features the lower ranked team at home that started the season higher ranked, though. Yeah, Winston-Salem State, another surprise for a lot of folks. They're ranked at number 3. They go up against number 5, Virginia State. 3 versus 5 matchup. This is at high noon. It's on HBCU Go, so you can watch this as well. Winston-Salem State, the Rams, go up against Virginia State Trojans. Sticking with you, Brian, what are your thoughts in terms of the matchup here with this top 7 at the mid-major level, the second top game of the week that you picked as part of the top 5, the final one?
It is so fascinating, Doc, that these 2 games, in the year in which the CIAA moves away from the North-South, where we get have the North versus South thing, and they go to one format, that we get 2 matchups between former Northern Division teams versus Southern Division teams. And if you paid attention to this over the last 2 years, the North has owned the South, just like in the Civil War. North owned the South, basically. I mean, this is how it rolls. I mean, it happens that way, right? It just so.
Even though we have some folks that are looking at revisionist history, I'm glad that you set the record straight.
I'm a history teacher now, Doc, so I look at everything in this prism of stuff that happened back in the 1700s and 1600s. So I'm just on that level right now. But this is a great opportunity. Look, for Winston-Salem State and Johnson C. Smith, you guys have been kicked. You've been kicked. You've been talked about. You've been pushed around within the conference for the last decade. Now, on prime time, on Saturday, under the lights, under this beautiful sun, you get a chance to prove everybody wrong. You get a chance to tell people that we are here, we have arrived. Take that back talk that you've been giving to us and put it away, because Rams and the Golden Bulls are here. I just don't know if the state of Virginia is ready to listen. That's all.
Dr. Henry Frazier III will be in the building for the Virginia State Trojans. Charles, what are your thoughts? You any different from Brian? I know you were totally opposite on the first matchup. What about this?
Yeah, I think this is it's going to be tough to go to Virginia State. Like Brian talked about, I think the North has had a stranglehold on the South, and I don't think anything changes on this one. I want to lean into Winston-Salem State and Dalen Lee, and especially the way he performed against A&T. And but I don't know. It's too tough to knock off Henry Frazier team up there. I think Virginia State will get the win.
Good stuff. Good stuff. As we get ready to close it out, I got 2 more. The final 5th game was the one that they had. These are both bonus games. One of them features Clark Atlanta, obviously number 2 in the mid-major flow, and they travel to Bethune-Cookman. You teased this out a little bit earlier, Charles. It is one of the bonus games to watch. It's a D2 FCS. It's one of the last of the 2 of the 3 final games against FCS D2 matchups in terms of HBCUs. It's on HBCU Go. You got a red hot Clark Atlanta Atlanta that is led by its offense. Bethune-Cookman that couldn't find an offense 2 weeks ago at home, but they did go on the road and put up some points. So now it's intriguing to say, has Bethune-Cookman kind of turned the corner that a lot of folks thought they were able to do with some recruiting during the spring transfer portal and a lot of different things? Are they not quite ready to make it? And will Clark Atlanta probably have one of its biggest wins in the last quarter century? I would imagine, as I could go back. Some people will be argued back since the last time they won a SIAC championship. With that being said, what are your thoughts in terms of this matchup, Charles, with Clark Atlanta at Bethune-Cookman in Daytona?
Clark Atlanta couldn't stop Florida Memorial. That's concern. So I mean, you asking them to play up level and take on Bethune-Cookman. Although I have some concerns about Bethune-Cookman, and especially the quarterback play, and they can be iffy there. But I think Bethune-Cookman will be ready for this Clark Atlanta team. I do think David Wright has to have a career game to knock off Bethune-Cookman, but I just think Bethune-Cookman will be too tough for them in the trenches. And if they run the ball, which they've shown, they have some good running backs, I think Bethune-Cookman will handle and knock off Clark.
I think this is a really good matchup, again, to kind of see the distance that you may have started to see and has started with the FCS HBCUs going 8-0 this season versus the D2. They are winless in terms of what that looks like. But I'm fascinated, as you said, with a team that's really solid. Clark Atlanta, at least offensive, some question marks on defense. Vice versa, Bethune-Cookman that has some concern on offense and at least beats on defense. What does that look like when these two collide? Brian, what are your thoughts in terms of this matchup?
I'm gonna try not to be too petty, and I don't want people to think I'm being petty, but I know it's hard because people see this orange and green behind me and they just think that I naturally can't see and won't see and don't want to see Bethune-Cookman have success. So I'm going to just go to some data. Of the 263 ranked teams in Division I football, that's Division I, regardless of FCS, FBS, Bethune-Cookman sits at 249. That means there are only 14 worse teams, according to the metrics, not Brian, according to the metrics, in Division I football. Now, Charles just said David Wright has to have a career game. We've seen a career game by David Wright. We've seen him put 7 touchdowns up on Fort Valley. What more does David Wright have to do?
He put it up on Fort Valley.
Okay. So when he puts 8 touchdowns up on Bethune-Cookman, we just gonna go ahead and crown him the Black College Player of the Year.
We will have to.
Hey, look.
Charles said he'll say uncle.
Look, I think the big problem for Bethune-Cookman is maybe not the offense, but the defense. Well, let me rephrase. The offense was pretty bad in the first couple of weeks, but they were playing up in competition. They were playing an FBS, and they were playing a top 15 FCS opponent. They scored 31 points finally, but they have given up 48, 31, and 59 points. I don't know if Bethune-Cookman can stop water out the faucet. That's the problem. With that said, if you can't keep Clark out of scoring 30-something points, I'm not, how are you going to win this ball game? You got to be able to match and hope Clark's defense doesn't show up, or maybe the special teams. Hey, maybe young Mr. Deese, who had 2 kickoff return touchdowns. Hey, if Clark doesn't kick to him, where is Bethune going to get their points from?
I will kick that out of bounds.
Thank you. Memo to Teddy Keaton. Don't kick to the one guy who can score for Bethune, please. I know he listens to the show, Coach Keaton. Don't kick to that guy.
Say don't do it. Don't do it.
Kick it out of bounds. Let Bethune start from the 40 or 35, wherever they're starting at these days. I can't keep up because football is all over the place. I have no idea where they start the ball at. But don't kick it to him. Wherever he lines up, kick it away from it. And identify him. Tell the special teams guy, where is Deese? Which number is he? Did he switch jerseys? Do not kick it to Deese. Now, once that happens, Somebody show me how Bethune scores. I'm waiting to see it. I can't wait to see it. I got Clark by a touchdown.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. It'll be fascinating to see if they can make it happen and shock the world in multiple different ways. I'll tell you this. If Clark Atlanta can beat Bethune-Cookman, everybody in the world would officially say Dr. Cavil is a genius. So while I love my schools and I have a good dear friend from Bethune-Cookman and celebrate him, and Price is on here to celebrate her, there's some parts of me that wants this to find a way for this to happen, just so I can stick my chest out just a little bit more. With that being said, we're going to save this Southern Prairie View matchup, conference matchup. This is a big one. We're going to save that for Thursday and get into it and talk a little more about. I want to get your thoughts on those. But as we come to a close for the show, I did want to make sure and remind everybody while the 6 o'clock shows, we normally do it with the independents. We're looking to see if we can make that happen. You do have your OG Strike Zone with Brian. They'll get into some more information about Suggs. Fascinating, so you can hear a little background and why that's important for so many rattlers out there and what that could mean additionally for the program. At 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern time, we have a big question. We want to see if we can get a couple of luminaries to provide some answers to this question. How do we increase HBCU athletic revenue? A lot of people have had various opinions. We talked about the good and bad of money games. We talked about other forays, but we'll get into the dialogue. We have retired Colonel Gregory Clark, Wheeler Brown, former athletic director Robert Balls, current athletic director, former commissioner, both at SIAC, SWAC Division II, FCS Division I. Special guest, Leon Carey, former commissioner of the CIAA. And so we'll see if we can chop it up and see if we can get some answers, Charles and Brian. We'll see what that looks like. Any thoughts in terms of, as we come to a close, we'll come back and get you some things as we move forward, looking forward to Wednesday and Thursday. I can't wait to this weekend. It can't get here for, soon enough. Again, turn in Thursday and Friday. SWAC Digital Network, Charles and I will be doing our thing, giving you some information about the basketball scene and getting you prepared for the season. I know, Charles, you always say people to get back from the ledge, but there's some folks that get pretty can start getting on their ledge, and many people do it early because they kind of like to slide to basketball season.
Somebody's gonna get somebody's gonna get to know their basketball coach real early after this weekend.
Oh, wow. Particularly when you talk about that Prairie View Southern matchup, and we'll talk a little bit about that on Thursday. Thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, come from Inside the Lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Watson and Charles Bishop. Again, I hope you enjoyed the show. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Bill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Watson and Charles Bishop every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. We'll join you Thursday from Atlanta. Sunday, we'll be back at home and giving you those updates of what took place. We'll see if Brian or Charles was right, or maybe both of them in some cases they picked today. We'll look forward to Thursday as we give you a lot of updated news. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, DrKenyattacavil on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. It's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube is Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Dream big. Continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Charles?
Of course.
Brian?
Lecture.
Dismiss.